Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Could we have a roll call, please?
Gregor?
Here?
Honkala? Here. Joltz? Here. Bodie?
Yep.
Warshak?
Here.
All right, we have a full complement. Let's see, Pledge of Allegiance. Let's stand to reaffirm our allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, referring to the agenda, item 4 is the consent agenda. This is the means by which the council can, in one stroke, by approval, approve the items marked in the rest of the agenda with asterisks. And the procedure is normally just to ask councilors, are there any items that any of you would like to have withdrawn from the consent agenda?
I would like to have item 9 removed. I would like to discuss that.
Any other items?
The only thing I saw, Doug, was for the July 7th meeting, I believe it said I was absent and I actually arrived late.
Okay.
But I might have not saw it later on where I came in or whatever, you know, but.
I believe it was noted at 6 something that you had joined.
5:59, it says Councilor Warshak enters.
Yeah, it did say it later on.
Yes.
Is that
Okay.
sufficient to address your concerns?
Oh, yeah, I just didn't read it well enough, sorry.
I don't believe it was in bold print, so. All right, so we don't need to correct that. Do we need to remove? So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of agenda item 9?
So moved.
Moved, support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait, we have to do this by
Roll call.
roll
Sorry.
call vote. Takes a while.
Okay, sorry. Gregor?
Yes.
Warshak?
Aye.
Honkala?
Yes.
Joltz?
Yes.
Bodie?
Yes.
All right, the consent agenda stands approved. I think we probably would then move to agenda item 9.
Okay.
Councilor Joffs, you had some concerns about it? Do you
Well,
want?
not concerns, I just had some questions I wanted to talk, so I know that since COVID, we haven't had a lot of the travel training and requests. I don't know, is Kimberly going to anything this year?
She hasn't requested any yet.
She hasn't requested? Okay. I was just kind of questioning, and I know that there was stuff always available down for League of Minnesota Cities. I'm assuming that you have gone to some and stuff as well, but
Yep.
I was just kind of curious, because I know that there hasn't been a lot available, so it's good to see that Lindsay's going to these. And I was just questioning about if Kimberly was going to anything, so, okay, that's all I wanted to discuss, that's all.
I don't know if I adequately reported, but yeah, on the League of Minnesota's annual meeting down in Duluth, there were just a truckload of ideas and networks and things. I really think we ought to be so thankful to have the league doing both the trainings and the gatherings.
Absolutely, yeah, these are great trainings. I know Talisha and I went to one and it was a great eye-opener, so
Yeah.
it's good to see that we have people going.
Good.
So, okay, thank you.
So subject to that, someone want to move approval of the proposed travel request?
So moved.
Moved,
I'll
support?
support.
Moved and supported. Further discussion, seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gregor?
Yes.
Warshak?
Aye.
Honkala?
Yes.
Joltz?
Yes.
Bodie?
Yep.
All right, the item stands approved. Moving on to agenda item 10, appearances in public forums. City Clerk, anybody requested to appear other
Nobody.
than Councilor Warshak?
Yes.
That's-
Nobody has.
Nobody has. All right, then, seeing none other than our TV producer here. Next would be reports from staff members. I'll start with the City Clerk.
Yes, I just have a few things, very brief here. Just a reminder, tomorrow's, we're sponsoring a cupcake decorating class at the community center at 1 p.m. We had a lot of kids sign up, so I'm just kind of testing the waters to see what kind of participation we would have in similar activities, and this is looking good. We've started the fiscal year 2023 budgeting process, having kind of a slow go at it and really trying to crunch the numbers and be a little more conservative and conscious at the approach this year, given the current climate. And then, just a reminder, we will have obviously 2 city councilor vacancies on the special election ballot November 8th, and to file for candidacy opening today and closes on the 16th of August. If anyone needs any information on that, they can stop by or touch base with the clerk's office, and we have the packets and can help them file.
Do you want to comment at all on the auditors meeting and kind of the general
Yeah, we had a
report on that? Yeah.
Sure, yeah, we had a work session last week with Tom from Waukesha County, with the council and a few of the staff members, and I thought it went really well. He was super appreciative that the council had a lot of questions for him, and compared to last meeting, I felt like it shows that there's just been a lot more transparency with the financials and engagement from the council and staff. So I feel like we're all moving in the right direction, and for the auditor, everything's looking good, and until next year.
Yeah. All right. And what my takeaway from the meeting was certainly kudos to the city clerk and Kimberly for the work they've been doing on the budgets. I think the new software the city got seemed to be reflected with a sort of ease or accuracy by the auditors, and it's nice to see progress and clarity. And so kudos again to you and your staff there for getting it all together. So, yeah. Public Works Director Thuringer.
I don't really have much to report, other than we've seen completion on a couple projects. The screen addition at the wastewater plant is finally completed. We had a water line replacement in that same area that was completed and came in under budget, which was nice to see. And it's one of those years where no matter how much you mow, you can't keep up, so these kids have been running like crazy all summer long. And hopefully we'll get some dewatering going on the pit here pretty soon, so that's about all I have.
So for at least the foreseeable week or so, we're okay on the pit levels? Or?
Not if we keep having storms like the one earlier.
Okay. Anything further then, or not?
No, that's
okay. Thanks very much. Librarian Paula, could you give your report, please?
I sure can. Thank you, Mayor. Well, the summer reading programs at the library have concluded for the year, and we are collecting numbers, so I don't have any information yet, but hopefully next month I should have information about how many days children in the summer reading program reported reading this summer. I think it's going to be a pretty good number based on what's come in so far. Secondly, I had to quickly revise my report for today because August's local Take and Make project was a cupcake decorating kit. And each of those kits contains supplies and most of the ingredients needed to make and decorate cupcakes using a set of 8 decorators' tips. And it was great to coordinate this project with City Clerk Dickinson's the cupcake class being offered through the City Rec Department. We offered 1 kit per household while supplies last, and yesterday we had members from 30 families come in to pick up those kits, so the supplies have not lasted long. And that ARPA subgrant project was made possible through an ARPA subgrant through the Arrowhead Library System administered by the Minnesota Department of Education State Library Services. And finally, the Aurora Friends of the Library are sponsoring a small Learning to Sew at the Library class, and that will be on Tuesday, August 9th at 2 o'clock. And there are still spaces available in that class, so people are welcome to sign up to reserve a spot to work one-on-one or in a very small group with an experienced seamstress, and they will be sewing a simple drawstring bag using a kerchief, and all of those supplies are provided for that class. And walk-ins will be accepted if there are spaces available, and we'll also take a waiting list in case there are any cancellations. So, thank you.
Thanks for that report. City Attorney, anything to report?
Just what's on the agenda, Mayor.
All right, thank you. And that concludes all the staff reports. Moving on to reports from the counselors. Counselor Godey?
Well, it's been a few months since I put a plug in for the fire department. They still need new members, and it would be a wonderful way to serve your community. I just think that employers really value people that work for them that are on the fire department, and it may make it easier for you to be hired somewhere if you're a fireman too. So it's a good thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about for just a second was the meeting about the water plant and what a good job they did. Maybe putting everybody's worries to rest that it's a necessary project. I would hate to see Aurora make the national news that as a city that didn't have a water supply. It's money, it's expensive, but it needs to be done. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Counselor Joss?
Okay, planning and zoning, as you guys can see, lots of improvements over the last month. I think we've had like 15 or 16 variances applied for, building permits applied for, just a combination of everything, sign permits, so it's kind of nice to see that we've got things happening in town. The youth activity coordinator update, Mark said that fall sports are quickly approaching and sign-ups for flag football, volleyball, soccer, and disc golf will be opening next month. The baseball and softball seasons were a success. They had 19 teams that competed at all different levels, from T-ball through 18 under and senior legion levels. Soccer went fairly well. He said they weren't blessed with the best of weather this year, as we're all aware. But the soccer did serve the whole region with kids coming from Virginia, White Lakes, and the YMCA program. The beaches this summer, he said, have been overall success. They have 11 lifeguards on 3 beaches, and they did end up having a situation where one of the lifeguards ended up helping a young child that got stuck on a floaty that floated out, and they were assisted by another lifeguard. So very important to have those lifeguards. We have decided that we are going to meet on a quarterly basis, with meetings being held the 4th Wednesday of the month. It's looking like we're going to start in August or September, so we will know a little bit more on that. And then some things that I had some questions, so I have got some Wayne questions. And actually, Steph questions. So I've gotten lots of emails about pigeons. Where are we at with the pigeon problem? I hear that we have pigeons being fed again. I know in the past that we talked about having pigeons somehow, rehome the pigeons, yes. So has anybody checked up on that? Do we know where we're at with that? So I can give these, I have like 3 people calling or emailing me on pigeons, so.
To my knowledge, right now, there is no current activity for any pigeon reduction measures.
Okay.
It still is contrary to the ordinance to feed them though, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
just for the audience that's watching. Yeah.
Okay. And then I noticed that we've got a few complaints about water building up in some people's yards. I did notice it's kind of the same handwriting that's coming through, so I did call the person in question. It's over on 3rd Street West. Have we done anything with that yet? Has that been addressed?
No, it's just looking at that again today, and I guess what we're gonna need to do is see if we can find some money for engineering, get an engineer to go in there and give us an estimate. See if we can come up with funding to resolve that issue.
Because I noticed that we did get something else here yesterday, when we get the other last rainstorm, but we got something in our emails. And then also sewer lateral line, how is that coming? The sewer lateral line checks, I know where there's like there's a lot of discombobulation. I'm hoping everything's in check with that as far as
In the point of sale?
and the point of sale sewer lateral line checks.
Yeah.
Are we all on the same page now? Do this sewer lateral, the plumbers that have to do the sewer lateral line checks know what they're exactly looking for, et cetera. Cause I know some of them have had to call back, and people were in an uproar that they did pay another $200 to have the plumber come back and re-scope because they didn't know what they were looking for, so.
Well, it's a fairly new program, and I think there are some glitches, but, you know, and there's no limit to the number of plumbers that can perform that.
Okay,
So as the ones that have been involved, I believe they've got it,
they're good to go.
got it down now, but as others come in, there could be
Okay,
more difficulties, and it's a new program, so we've
okay.
kind of streamlined it down to keep it consistent, that we're trying to run everything through Jim.
Do we have like a checklist of things that you guys are looking for, so that way if there's a new plumber that comes in, like we can give to them?
I'm not quite sure on that.
We have a
Okay.
checklist, a form that they fill out of what we're looking for, and also can provide a copy of the ordinance,
Okay,
which some of them have requested and typically are offered as well.
okay, perfect. And then also, I just wanted to check and see, I heard that there was an accident with one of the vehicles, city vehicles. I wasn't told anything about it, but I heard through the grapevine, so I wanted to come right to the source and see.
That might be something we wanna talk about.
We talked
Outside of
about
the
that at the
meeting,
safety
or-
meeting, Norma Jean, and,
Okay.
yeah, our summer, one of our summer kids did have a backing, sounded like it was a backing accident. Wade probably knows more about it than I do, but,
Okay,
yeah, nobody hurt,
Okay.
and I believe Steph has already submitted stuff to insurance.
okay, okay, I was just kind of curious, because I hear things, you hear things around town, and I wasn't informed, so I couldn't tell anybody, yeah, hey, this is what happened, we got it under control, so, okay. That's it, thank you.
Thanks for that report, Councilor Honkala.
Well, most of the items will be up for vote. We had a regular Parks and Rec meeting and then a special. We had discussion surrounding the shelter and the rink, which we're voting on later in the council meeting, so I'll leave that for that. I just wanna remind the public that the splash pad is set to close on September 6th. It's after Labor Day, the day after Labor Day, so I probably shouldn't make this assumption, but I make the assumption that the Public Works will complete the winterization and closing of that event all on the 6th, so that there won't be overtime. Or do you intend to have it open the 6th and then close at the end of the day?
I haven't really considered that fact yet.
Okay. That would be nice so that we could put it in the paper. There has been some public that have asked about the hours and when we open, when we close specifically, and so that would be great to get that out in the public. It is a month away. And just remind the public and us about crosswalks. I witnessed, or near accident, thankfully, where a child was crossing the street by Shakabus. And that's a crosswalk, and you're supposed to yield, and the car yielded, but the car behind it decided to go into the bike lane, to scoot around that car, and this close again. And this is, I mean, I watched this happening on my walk, and it's, I mean, you're in that big of a hurry that you'd wanna get there. It also happened quite a bit on Main Street.
Yeah.
Crossing the street to get to one of our establishments, or go out to eat, and you sit and wait there for quite some time before the traffic goes, or someone's polite enough to stop, but it is the law. I hope that the East Range Police Department will start educating drivers on safety concerns. And I had just a quick question for Paula. I know you're in the middle of strategic planning, and I think the date is done, or are you continuing to take feedback?
We are continuing to take feedback. The board has not met to evaluate the feedback or review that yet, so we will continue to take it.
Is there any end date you anticipate, or it'll just open?
The board hasn't decided
Okay.
when they're gonna work on that yet, so
Okay.
I don't have an end date.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have till later.
Okay, thanks for that report. Let's see, I'll try not to go on too long. On the East Range, or the joint meeting we had of the town of White, the city and the water board, that Councilor Godey referred to, it just, for those that are watching in the audience, one of the purposes of that meeting was to kind of make sure all the elected officials there had an up-to-date, thorough briefing on how that project's progressed, because it's been kind of in the development stage for about 10 years, as the citizens out there will probably recall, and it's reached the point of final design. We're waiting for some last elements of financial support. The public bodies took the step of reaffirming that the communities will bond for what the Public Facilities Authority calls an affordable rate for our community, which varies, of course, between communities, and supposedly is triggered to the fact that we do have a low to moderate income community that has a fairly limited capacity to bear water rates and things. But I thought it was very informative, well-conducted, and it seemed to be timely to have that before we start going out into the public to try through mailings, advertisements, and other things to get people educated on where that project is, and hopefully when it gets bid out. That would be nice to get to that point. CTC, a fiber optic internet company, has started working on installations in the Main Street area, and I think the chamber's notified the business owners in that area, but that is a significant element in our progress as a community to a high-speed broadband environment. And so I think the business owners that might be watching just want to, I think they could contact staff, right, the city clerk's office. We've been looking at the city for some possibilities there too, so. Let's see. The shopper has survived since the last meeting, and actually got through a month of publication, so we still have that as an institution in the business in the community to do some advertising. Let's see, the East Range Joint Powers Board, among other things, was focusing in on short-term rental regulations across the East Range, not just in Aurora. But that issue may be coming to the forefront, so if constituents who want to talk to us as counselors, might be timely to do that.
Did they have a contact maybe from the county or anything that was discussed during that meeting? I had to miss it.
Yeah. I get the impression Amanda from North Span might be the best person to
Okay.
contact on that. And we've got 2 openings, as you indicated. We're looking for fellow counselors to come on board with us. And short of that, I think I'll pass. The only thing, maybe a comment on those inspections, the point of sale inspections. I don't know, again, I hesitate rumor, but I heard that a number of them, like 11 or 12, had been done, and that there were a number of failures that were detected, which to me sounds disappointing for the sellers, but for the buyers, they're not being a buyer unaware. They're getting the opportunity to know they're not inheriting some problem through their purchase and everything. And I don't know, I'm sure Norma Jean will keep track of the realtor community and their pulse on both buyers and sellers. But it seemed that those plumbers who were doing the inspections were taking them very seriously. That's your impression too, Wayne, or? Yeah.
Well, the plumbers are not necessarily the ones who are doing the pass and fail. That possibly could be coming from our staff. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
there's certain things we look for, and just try to keep it consistent.
Yeah. Anyway, it seems like a good program for the community as far as I'm concerned.
So, may I ask a question regarding that? So they scope the pipe, and then they send the video over to Jim,
We send it to City Hall,
City Hall,
right?
and then Public Works reviews the video, and then determines if it's pass or fail.
That is one of the parts of the procedure, yeah.
Okay, just to be clear on that.
What is the other part then?
Well, the plumber can fail it on if something they see also, but I don't know if we've seen any of those. I'm not real up to that. Jim's been handling it, and we've narrowed it down to trying to have just one person do it so it stays consistent. Because we had difference of opinion on a few things, so.
And as you said, it's early on, so it's evolving.
Early on, and
Yeah.
if it appears that it's needs modification, then
luckily we have, you know, a good working relationship with the neighboring cities, that have recently implemented or have been, navigating the process for some time. It sounds like a couple of the neighboring communities handle the inspections differently and what would pass or fail, some being more modest or not, but the ordinance specifically, calls out, what could fail it. So if, it's been some time since the ordinance obviously was adopted, to a couple months, if anybody wants to review that again, we can certainly share it, but, I agree that it seems like it's becoming more of a consistent process and, working out the kinks and.
Great. All right, that
Did
concludes.
Dave have anything he wanted?
I forgot. Yes, or just Counselor Warshak, yes, you may be.
Boy, I tell ya,
in a
I
form-
get forgot.
Oh, what's
That's
his
why I
name?
forgot, you know?
I apologize profusely for that. So, Counselor Warshak, do you want to give your report? Yeah.
Actually, just a couple things Norma Jean already hit on. We had a safety meeting on 7/20, city safety meeting, and there was a vehicle accident, nobody hurt. East Range PD did a report, and like I said, I believe Steph's already sent in, there was damage to a private vehicle, and I believe Steph's already sent in the insurance stuff. And then on 7/18, there was an HRA meeting. One of the discussion items were those lots north of the bar. There's been an inquiry about purchasing those lots, so we're kind of looking into that a little bit. And then it was talked about, the HRA is also looking for committee members, so I think there's lots of places for people to volunteer at. And then, let's see. I guess the only other thing is I actually do have, and I'll send it to Steph or whatever, I got the names of a couple young, fairly new to the community Forest Service folks that may be interested in getting on a committee or two, so I'll send that to you, Steph.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Their name and address anyway, and so you can contact them and give them some information on what's available.
Yeah, definitely.
And I believe that's all I have, Mayor.
Well, thanks very much. We just saved the best for last, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Good cover, yeah.
All right, moving on to the agenda. Item 16, old business, the joint live, or joint use equipment agreement. City clerk, I don't think we have anything to report on that, do we?
No, we've had, some staffing, vacations that have kind of put that on pause for the last couple weeks. Jim returns on Wednesday, so we'll get back to that.
All right, moving on then to agenda item 17, new business. 17.1 is the letter of support for employees requesting union representation by the 49ers union. City clerk, do you want to just set the stage for
Sure.
that?
Yeah, it was a few months back, the council had approved a letter of support for the formerly known union employees at the city of Aurora to move on from AFSCME. And they're in the process of considering engaging with the local 49ers and would like a letter of support from the council.
And you'd be able to draft that up, consistent with prior letters we've done, all right. Let's see, is there a motion to authorize the city clerk to draft that letter of support and for myself to sign it?
I'll make a motion.
So moved, is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported, further discussion, including in Iowa? Okay, none. All right, if not, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Ankala,
Yes.
Jobs,
Yes.
Bodie.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 17.2, change order number 1 and pay request for the water main replacement project. I believe this requires 2 actions by us, one to approve the change order and one to approve payment number 2. Is that correct? Okay. councilors have had an opportunity to review the materials that are in the packet. On change order number 1, kind of almost unique in our experience, but it's a
Yeah.
decrease, is that correct? Public Works Director Thuringer?
Yeah, there's, the bids are based on, cost per units, or units per cost, and there was less material used, so there was a reduction of considerable amount,
Well,
which is rare.
yes,
We will
very
take it.
pleasing news, yeah, so. I assume someone would be anxious to make a motion to approve that change order?
I'll make that motion.
It's moved, support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
No,
Oh, no.
Roll call.
Roll call, yeah.
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Hansela,
Yes.
Jobs,
Yes.
Bodie.
Yes.
All right, that stands approved, and the next item is to authorize payment, pay request number 2, in the amount of $58,937.35. And is that the last installment on that contract, or?
I do believe so.
Final contracts. Yes. I have the amount. I thought I had it on here, but it should be on your,
Yeah, I think-
in your packet as well, but yes, that is the final cost of the project.
Yeah, that's been a wonderfully successful project all over, so is there a motion to approve the final payment?
So moved.
So moved.
So moved, support?
Support.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those, please respond to the clerk's roll call.
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Hansela,
Yes.
Jobs,
Yes.
Bodie.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 17.3, donation request. That's moral approval, request for approval for a proposed donation. City Clerk, do you want to explain that matter?
Yeah, we had received the email from Jackie at Caring for the Kids Community expressing interest in donating shelter, a 22 by 22 foot shelter at the splash pad. Caring for the Kids Community would fund that project, and was in the process of getting some estimates to come up with the amount for that.
Councilor Honkala, you're kind of our Caring for Kids, late, ardent supporter and liaison, really, right? That's,
Well, the splash pad has been really well received in the community. It's got a lot of people in. And one comment, aside from wanting the bathroom, changing room up and running, was that there would need to be a shelter there for some of the families to sit under. So I think it'll be a great placement. And we'll work with Public Works and the Parks Committee and place a appropriate shelter
there, yeah.
next to or near the splash pad.
From the opening day, I know there were a lot of parents that would have liked to have been in under some shaded
Yeah, I think it's warm.
sort of environment. Public Works Director Thuringer, anything to add to that discussion, or not?
Nothing.
All right, is there a motion then to approve the donation proposal? What? Okay, all right, yeah, is there a motion to approve the proposal?
So moved.
Moved, is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported, any further discussion? All right, if not, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Hansela,
I'll abstain, please.
Jobs,
Yes.
Bodie.
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 17.4, Pine Grove Park skating rink, purchase of a new rink, proposal there. City Clerk, do you want to explain the proposal there? So,
Yeah, I can start and maybe, Mr. Hankala wants to summarize as well, but, yeah, the quote enclosed is for $49,890 for a 140 foot by 72 foot skating rink, that we need to relocate at Pine Grove Park, anticipating, at some point, hopefully constructing a new parking lot, to adhere to the approved Pine Grove Park master plan. the city has some assigned funds, we received some grant funding, and then we did have some pledges for funding as well that were sent over to the city, and then also received one donation of $1,000 as well. The thing that I guess I was thinking since the last Parks Committee meeting was that the pledges, we don't actually have the donations yet. So, I would want the council to potentially consider as well as putting an end date as well on the pledges for the payments to be receipted. We have to order the rink. If we want it relocated this year, the lead time was approximately 8 weeks, and then obviously the work would have to be completed as well. And just to kind of give an update as well, we talked about it briefly at the Parks Committee meeting, but as we've been working through these improvements and the funding of it, we can utilize our local grant funding and city funds as match requirements for state grant funds. So I'm anticipating the next Minnesota DNR grant cycle applying for a grant at the park that, so it's important to kind of move through some of these improvements and expenditures and, meeting our goals at the park, so, I don't know if you wanna comment as well, maybe
Councilor
some more
Hawken?
from the
That,
meeting.
I was very impressed with how the community responded. They were firm on what they wanted as for the size of the rink, and they supported that by raising the money. And so there's a lot of people involved in it, but Jackie from Caring for Kids, Rick Turk, Chris Shuck, Huffer Dickinson, all really rallied together to get that money and get those commitments out there. So now we'll have this larger rink that the community almost demanded. So good, we're able to give them what they want.
It's interesting to see how the coalescing of these various funding sources to come together for that. So it'll be the city, the Caring for Kids, the East Blue Line Club, and all that's made possible in some cases by all these donations,
And I think when we read through the quote, it read that we need 50% down to order. There's an 8-week lead time, as you said, and so the other 50% would be due when they or they freight it, because it's a freight item, correct?
Yep.
So your concern was, at what point, what date should we set to
Yeah.
receive the funds?
Yeah, I'm just something measurable, so that I don't have to continue, I guess, to follow up on it, is just to have an end date for those pledge donations to be received here at City Hall. Caring for the Kids community had offered to pay the difference of whatever the project costs were, so when would be the appropriate time for me to follow up with Caring for the Kids community?
I think the appropriate time would be before the second 50% was due. So, that would give you a lead time of about 3 weeks. Have you ordered it already?
It hasn't been approved, so no.
Okay, so as soon as you order it, then 3 weeks from the date of ordering, that'll give you a week of firmly having all the money in hand before you would have to give out the other 50% of the cost of the rent, correct?
So 3 weeks after.
That's just, I'm just throwing a
purchase.
date out there based
Okay.
on what the contract here reads. And
Okay.
if the other counselors have any input.
or September 1st, maybe, just to round things off, or that,
I'd be,
does that seem feasible?
Yeah, that's more than 3 weeks, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
so September 1st?
All right, so is there a motion to approve the requested donations and proceed with the ordering contingent upon what? Getting the balance in place by September 1st? Is that?
Well, we need to make the purchase now, so it would be in good faith. Yes, it's just approving the purchase, and then I would order actually tomorrow.
Yep,
So,
perfect.
I have
All right.
all
Yeah, so
scheduled.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the SRG Ice Pearl Hockey Rink in the amount of $49,890.
All right, is there support?
Support.
All right, we have, it's been moved and supported. I noticed Councilor Warshak moving toward his microphone, I wasn't quite sure. All right.
Just a question, and I might have missed the discussion, but, who's installing the rink then?
Public Works staff would be installing it.
Okay.
We've been assured that it should be fairly simple, and there's lots of videos, and the reps from the company well, so, the city of Cloquet also in the last couple of years had installed one as well, so I feel like we do have some local outreach as well if, we get hung up on any of it.
Is there any plans for lighting or anything at this time?
We don't have, we had hoped to relocate some of the lighting this year, but I don't know if that will happen or not. So, but definitely in the plans.
In a, the Zamboni in the building?
Yeah, it's definitely things that have been discussed in the Parks Committee meeting, and, the Zamboni last I had heard had, definitely at least one more year left in her, and, the building is, another story probably, but probably something that the Parks Committee needs to discuss at one of their next meetings is really to zero in on what the plan is there.
All right, we have a motion and support on the table. Any further discussion on that? If not, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gregor?
Yes.
Warcheck?
Aye.
Concola?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Bodie?
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 17.5, proposal or request to waive the community center rental fee for the renewed Holiday Heritage celebration planned for December 17th of this year. Is there a motion to approve the waiver of that?
I'll make the motion.
Moved, support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Further discussion on waiving that fee? If not, all those, I'm sorry, the city clerk, please do a roll call vote.
Gregor?
Yes.
Warcheck?
Aye.
Concola?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Bodie?
Yep.
All right, that motion passes. Moving on to 17.6, a proposal to waive various special assessment fees in, what, 3 categories, right? City clerk, is there some kind of a umbrella sort of comment on the various categories? And can
Yeah.
this be approved in one motion, or would we need to have approvals separately for each of the 3 categories?
You could do a blanket motion if you wanted, or you could do it in 3 separate.
All right. City clerk, do you want to just kind of explain
Sure,
how
yeah.
this came about?
Give a little more information. So the first section, those ones, we've had those before since, I guess I've been with the city as well, where there's a lag time between St. Louis County and City of Aurora, certifying processing payments for special assessments. So, we'd have to refund the overpayments on those ones. The, rest of them we had, run into is the state tax forfeit properties. There is, so if they go tax forfeit, typically, the assessments are forgiven or written off or reassessed entirely or partially. I hadn't found that there was a policy here at the city of Aurora how that should or would be handled, or necessarily a specific trend in the past of how it was addressed also. So Mike and I had talked about it and decided maybe the best approach would be is to refund the payments, so that would be the middle section, 3 parcels, that those payments were made by those people when they purchased the properties. And then, moving forward, we have, annually we get a report from the state of these properties, and we should be assessing them then and taking a look at them and make sure we're not singling people out or, trying to get money back on some of them that we had or haven't before. So just maybe kind of focus on in 2023, coming up with a process and potentially a policy on how to look at these. I talked to a few other neighboring cities, and some of the comments I got back as well is you don't want to make it difficult for some of these forfeit properties to be resold. You want them on your tax roll. So if they're sitting vacant and someone doesn't buy them, and really they'd probably be the only one interested because it's a sliver of land and there's no access and so on and so forth. But there's a bunch of different scenarios, and I felt like there was a lot to consider and to be able to move on from these ones. I think that came up that it was better to just maybe write off the special assessments now on these ones and move forward and address them individually when we do get that list annually.
Right. Apparently we have an option to either improve each of the categories separately or collectively. First, I'll entertain a motion to approve all of the requested forgivenesses or refunds of the special assessments. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved, is there support?
Support.
Moved and supported, further discussion?
I do have some questions on the discussion on this. So I just wanna make sure I understand this. So when they are tax forfeiture, somebody comes in, they purchases the properties, don't they generally assume?
When they purchase the property, tax forfeit, the assessments go away. They don't become a lien on the property. The county gets it for their price, and those are gone. In order to get them back on the tax roll, so to speak, for assessment, you know, you'd have to go through the process of almost another reassessment.
Okay.
A public hearing, back with that, then the people show up, and I can tell you, past experience, they would say, well, I bought it with that, I would've never bought it if I knew I was gonna have to pay all those assessments. Because, you know, taxes, forfeited property, they're looking for a steal or a deal, not, having 15 years of some type of assessment on it.
I was just kinda curious, cause I know in general purchase agreements that a person generally assumes the
Right.
assessments or pending assessments or assessments levied, and so the state does not do that when you do tax forfeiture?
No, it goes
Okay.
away, and so the people might not even know until all of a sudden they get a notice, for the city of Aurora that the public hearing that they're gonna assess the property. You know, with the private deals, it's all transparent, and it's a clause, are you accepting it or not accepting, you know, they all know what the assessment is. With the state/county tax forfeit, they're not there anymore.
And is there any way that we can keep people informed on that when we know that there's tax forfeiture lands? Like, there's properties where the new city water, city sewer has gone in, I'm thinking down in, I can't remember the name, the new, by Linda Drive. I mean, that's just, in my mind, I think that's just general knowledge, it's new streets down there, there's gotta be an assessment, is there any way that we can keep
Well,
these
then
people?
you'd have to, I mean, depending on the value of the assessment, is that at that time, the city of Aurora, are you gonna reassess it? And that's what Steph said, is that, you know, when they go tax forfeited, you know, how do we get in for it? We see it, they get notice it's tax, somebody's gonna have to track it, you know, for that.
Okay.
And then are you gonna reassess everyone, or are you gonna piecemeal it? I
Okay.
mean, you know, you start piecemealing it, then you're singling out individuals. Well, that's a higher value, so we're gonna do you, but we're not gonna do that one that's only $100.
Okay, okay, thank you.
So the county's policy is the same for all the
Right,
communities?
they go away.
They're not singling us out for,
Yeah, no, I mean, tax forfeited, you know, whatever you can deal with the county to get it, and, you know, they've even increased, you know, their value. Before they were giving them away a certain extent, and now you look
Yeah.
at the auctions that they're getting fair market, or sometimes even bidding wars.
Yeah, cause it just I'm just thinking right now, in the top of my head, a property that I sold for $13,000, and there was like $4,000 worth of assessments that the seller had to pay for before they even sold it, so, okay, thank you.
further questions or concerns? I believe we have a motion and support on the table. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gregor?
Yes.
Warshak?
Hey,
Hansela?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Bodie?
Yep.
All right, the motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 17.7, which is the nuisance parking and storage ordinance. Let's see. City clerk or city attorney, do you wanna kind of explain the development process here?
Well, I'll start. Lindsay did a lot of research, and that was really nice. She got a lot of help from League of Minnesota cities as well on different ordinances that were out there for some of the concerns that were brought forth by, residents and in planning and zoning meetings. And, after she did her research, we definitely noticed some trends in some of them ordinances. So what she did, was, incorporated them into one of our existing ordinances, editing it, making some additions. And, when I spoke to City Attorney Carney, we had talked about, adding it on the agenda, making sure council had time to review. We haven't had a lot of discussions since, Mr. Shuck was here, and then, from the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. Gives a chance for everyone to review, and I would recommend following up with Lindsay on any other edits, additions, or things that might have been missed, prior to adopting. And, we had talked about potentially is just replacing that entire portion of that ordinance versus, piecemealing it, yeah. So, if anyone has any other, questions or comments, but that was kind of what our thought was, is to get it before the council, so you got time to review and really think about, just based off of what you all have heard as well, what would be important to include.
And do we send emails, or what do what do you want? Do you want emails directly to go to Mike? Do you want emails to go to you?
I
Do you
think
want
you go
emails
through the
to
clerk's
Lindsay?
office.
Yeah.
To Lindsay? Okay.
Yeah, Lindsay is, taking this on, and I think she's, doing a good job
Okay.
keeping up on it. So, I think it would be good, if you have any suggestions to follow up with her, and she'd be able to help you out.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing will probably be effective for this period. I mean, usually it's the better weather that brings it out, but we'll have something, back to the council with the input from others.
Okay, thank you.
So no action required, just,
Keep
Just
it
wanna
on
make
the
sure
agenda.
it's-
soliciting some input.
Yes.
Very good. Any further concerns of any of the councilors? All right, if not, then let's move on to agenda item 17.8, variance permit fee increase. Let's see, we've considered this before, and, let's see, city clerk or city attorney to just explain, we're reconsidering it, right?
Yeah, well, we're looking at it, and I let it go by. There should have been a public hearing. You can do it by resolution or by ordinance, but there wasn't a public hearing, and so I asked that you rescind what you did, and then I think we'll have a public hearing on it on August 16th to increase the variance. I think that's your next meeting, so it'll be at 5:20, 10 minutes before. Usually, typically, nobody shows about it, and so then you complied with the Minnesota statute that required a public hearing. And then you could act on it at that meeting. I think that's the plan.
So the requested action is that we basically set a public hearing for August 16th?
Well, rescind the one where you had increased it to 150
All right.
because there was no public hearing.
So is there a motion to rescind resolution 2022-19?
So moved.
Moved, support?
Support.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Gregor?
Yes.
Warshak?
Aye.
Concola?
Yes.
Jobs?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
All right, that passes. So we've rescinded that, and then I'd entertain a motion to schedule a public hearing on August 16th at 5:20 PM to increase the variance permit fee to $150. Is there a motion?
I just want to make sure, was that enough time to get the published notice?
10 days.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're good there.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, is there a motion to set that public hearing?
So moved.
Moved, support?
Support.
Support.
All right, further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Gregor?
Yes.
Warshak?
Aye.
Concola?
Yes.
Jobs?
Yes.
Cody?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. 17.9, land sale purchase agreement. This is related to the cell tower that's planned for the parcel next to or near to the Chena School. And this is like the, second step in the process? City Attorney, do you want to explain what we're being asked to approve here?
I met with Steph and went through the document, and there's some issues in there. Probably gonna ask you to approve the purchase agreement as modified by myself and clerk, city clerk. If you look at the agreement, I think they signed off on already, I think June 10th, and then the time to accept it was June 12th. So I don't know how you would have got it 2 days, so we're gonna have to change that. And just to review or refresh, it's for $55,000. It was all a cash offer. The other things, it says that we're responsible for a title commitment, and then they go in the title, that the title insurance should be at buyer's expense. That's like two diametrically opposed things type, so I need to, through Steph, speak with Tillman on exactly what they want. I think if they get title insurance, they should be good to go on their end. And then the closing, you know, it's rush, but then it says close on or about June 1st, 2024. So I didn't understand. You got 2 days to sign it, but we're not gonna close, and we've already got closing documents that they were requesting information, so I wanted to follow up on, you know, I thought they wanted to get something started sooner than later, but this, say the closing, it can be on or before, but I mean, why do you need June 1st, 2024? And then the mayor even indicated that, you know, the governing, the offer expiration, like I said, was July 12th. Well, it's already August 2nd. We're past that. You know, they gave us 2 days because their person signed it on June 10th. Well, as the mayor indicated, we'd like some title or some authority behalf of Tillman Structures LLC that they do have the legal authority to sign the purchase agreement. And so I'm asking that allow the mayor and clerk to sign the purchase agreement after I believe it's been modified in the best interest of Aurora to sign that document.
So approve it for signature, subject to the
My
changes to address the issues you just raised?
Correct, Mayor.
And I did see one other thing, they also had in item 6, the inspection period, May 1st, 2024 is also in there as well.
Yeah, I think they've already inspected it, but I
Yeah.
don't know that type of thing,
Thought
so.
they did, but.
Usually, well, I mean, it's raw land.
Yeah.
There's nothing on there, is there, Wayne? It's raw land.
Former parking lot.
They did all their, I think, soil samples and all borings or whatever they did, so. That would be the first motion.
The first motion being, do you want to explain, in other words,
Just what you indicated.
okay, so we, is there a motion then to approve the clerk and I executing the document subject to modifications to the satisfaction of the city attorney in line with the comments that he made?
So moved.
Moved, support?
Support.
Moved and supported, further discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Gregor?
Yes.
Warshak?
Aye.
Conchola?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Bodie?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Moving on, that concludes the actions that we need on that, or
No,
not?
there would be, then the next one is to get ahead of the curve, is direct myself to prepare the appropriate resolution authorizing the sale and the warranty deed after the purchase agreement has been executed. And then we have to get it to them for their pre-approval prior to closing.
Okay. So we'd authorize you, as city attorney, to prepare the resolution that would approve the execution of a warranty deed consistent with the purchase agreement, right?
Authorizing the sale and then the warranty deed. Correct.
All right, I'll move approval of that. Is there support?
Support?
Supported? Moved and supported. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor indicate to the clerk when she calls your name.
Gregor?
Yes.
Warshak?
Aye.
Consola,
Yes.
Jolts,
Yes.
Bodie,
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 1710, the Labor Management Safety Committee appointment. There's an appointment recommended, and Librarian Chapman, any comments on this since it affects your area? I mean, you've previously been on the Labor Management Safety Committee. You were obviously instrumental in recruiting an alternate, right?
And that was actually my request that Jen Baker be appointed as the library representative on that committee, effective October 1st, so she will be at the October meeting, but I'll still be here to talk over it with her and answer any questions she has.
All right, well, appreciate your recruitment efforts there, getting that taken care of. Is there a motion to,
Mayor, let me just interject, that one I'd do it in two separate.
okay, so first one would be to accept Librarian Paula Chapman's resignation from the Labor Management Safety Committee effective on October 1st. Is there a motion to that effect?
Make a motion.
Moved, support.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Consola,
Yes.
Jolts,
Yes.
Bodie,
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Second motion would be to appoint Jen Baker to the committee as of October 1st, 2022. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved, support?
Or,
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Consola,
yes.
Jolts,
Yes.
Bodie,
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 17.11, cemetery board vacancy. There's a recommendation to approve adding Kim Zinsky as the newest cemetery board member with a term ending December 31st of this year.
Yeah, and I did have one question for City Attorney Carney on this one as well. So a previous member, Vince Lacer, had passed away.
Mhm.
And what would be the best way to handle his resignation?
Well, obviously Vince can't sign anything, so I would just, did you declare a vacancy due to his passing yet?
We have not.
Well, I think you can do that tonight, it's in the packet, and with Mr. Lacer passing away, and declare a vacancy, and then right behind that, appoint the new member.
Okay.
I'm assuming the cemetery board is supportive of this, we're not
Yes, yeah.
usurping their recommendations.
Okay, is there a motion to declare a vacancy in light of Vince's passing away?
So moved.
So moved.
All right, it's moved and supported.
Support.
And any further discussion on that? If not, roll call vote, please.
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Consola,
Yes.
Jolts,
Yes.
Bodie,
Yes.
All right, the vacancies have been declared, and then is there a motion to approve the appointment of Kim Zinsky for the remainder of that term?
Make a motion.
Moved, support?
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate so to the clerk. Have roll call.
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Consola,
Yes.
Jolts,
Yes.
Bodie,
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. That concludes our formal new business agenda, although we have another item. City Clerk, any other items to have considered at this point?
I don't have any other.
All right, councilors, any other matters? Directors, librarian? No? All right, if not, entertain a motion to adjourn to our next meeting, then will be on August 16th at 5:30. But is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Moved.
Moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Very good. All right, seeing and hearing no discussion, roll call, please.
Gregor,
Yes.
Warshak,
Aye.
Consola,
Yes.
Jolts,
Yes.
Bodie,
Yes.
All right, we stand adjourned until August 16th, unless we'll go back into session for some other reason.
Y'all have a good evening.
Well, you
Bye,
enjoy-
Dave.
enjoy
Good
your
seeing you. Bye, Dave.
life down south there, yeah.
We'll be talking to you, bye.
All right, bye.
Now I get a look, follow it, I lost my other pages somewhere in here.